Hooray, it's live, and this is episode 57. How are you today, Sal?
I'm awesome. How are you, Russ?
I'm not bad. This has been an interesting week so far, and it's not over. Usually Fridays are kind of like a chill day, but tomorrow's going to be kind of fun too.
Tomorrow is going to be great.
Yeah, I had a fun trip up to New York earlier this week with you, where we both went to the Microsoft Surface event. That had absolutely nothing to do with a Surface Mini, as much as we were forced to believe that it might be.
Yeah.
With Microsoft saying, join us for a small event, and some stuff showing up on Amazon about a small Surface, like cases that you could buy for a small Surface. We did not see a small Surface. Instead, we saw a giant Surface. We have a 12-inch Surface Pro 3, and after 2 days of using it, I'm kind of digging it. Like there's not a lot about this thing that I don't like.
So, yeah, there's like so many things to talk about right now. First of all, just to stick with the Mini for a second, do you buy the story that the Mini was like, it could have been there, and the day before or 2 days before or whatever, someone at Microsoft just pulled the ripcord and said, we're not showing this thing off, it is not ready, we're going to embarrass ourselves when someone compares this to an iPad Mini? Do you buy that at all, or do you think it's just people screwed up?
The only reason I buy it is because the Surface Pro 3 was also clearly not ready for launch. The pen isn't ready. The two versions of the hardware that they're planning on selling aren't going to be ready until August, at the end of August. So to imagine something less ready than the Surface Pro 3 was, I don't think is that big a stretch, but it does seem really weird that, we now hear after the event from the same people that were saying, hey, this is totally going to happen, that, at the last minute it got pulled and we don't have it. So, benefit of a doubt, sure, it's certainly possible, but it is hard to believe.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I don't know if I would say that it's not ready. The thing is, it's pretty well polished, and the hardware is incredible, as all the Surfaces have been. The pen is definitely lackluster. It is not everything they said it would be. I think that would be my main complaint. There was some lack of clarity over the versions and when they're going to be out, and if they're on sale today or going on pre-sale today, and then what the deal is with the LTE version, and if that's happening, is it not happening?
Yeah, we haven't heard any real information about an LTE version. The pen, we're supposed to get a software update to get some of the features that Panos Panay showed off on stage.
Yeah, well, so you had to do your own legwork and track that down.
Yeah, this wasn't stuff that Microsoft was upfront about. I mean, this was...
Yeah, I was doing the pen features, and I just couldn't get it to work. I'm like, oh, Panos did this on screen. I don't understand why I can't do it. I must be doing it wrong. I'm going to do something else.
Yeah,
but,
so
you stuck with it.
I got to that point and went, this doesn't work. What am I doing wrong? And I went and dug around in the settings, which, by the way, the mashup between modern UI and the traditional desktop, the biggest failure in Windows 8.1, and has been for Windows 8 the entire way, the biggest failure in trying to cross the gap between those things is the settings menus.
Yeah.
Flipping back and forth between the menus in the control panel and flipping back and forth between the menus in the modern UI window stuff, when looking for something as simple as the pen controls, was a nightmare. I finally found it under Bluetooth controllers, because the pen is a Bluetooth device in this, because it's an N-Trig Bluetooth stick that has its own little battery that is going to have to be replaced every once in a while. And it was really weird, and so that was like the biggest point for me so far that I've seen as far as like a usability failure, is going and looking, just trying to find settings for the pen was really painful. And then I went back and watched the video from the event that we were at to I was really carefully watching to see how Panos did it, because I figured up until this point I still figured I was doing something wrong.
As you would. I mean, he did it on stage. We saw him do it. There was no indication that this thing was not quite ready for prime time.
And then finally, I emailed the Surface guys, and they responded really quickly. They said, hey, this is something that'll be available in a software update. And I assume that means that they didn't give me a time for the software update, but I assume that means that this is something that users will see before launch. But then again, like you said a minute ago, which launch? We have the i5 version, which is the version that you and I have to use and touch with and play. That is available for pre-order now,
Yeah.
and it's going to be shipping next month.
Yeah.
But then there's the i3 version, which is the least expensive version, the $799 version, and the i7 version that can go up as high as like $2,100 when you have the keyboard.
Well, yeah, with the keyboard, it was like $1,949 without it, and with the keyboard, you'd be around a little over $2K.
Yeah, it's a $130 keyboard, so it would tack on. And neither of those are going to be even available to look at until the end of August, beginning of September. Which I guess we've had so many events recently where the product has been available like the next day.
Yeah.
Or like 2 weeks from now or something like that is just kind of a really big letdown to hear, oh, this thing will happen by the time everyone's forgotten about it.
Yeah, and by the time the Core i7 launches, the i5s will have been out for a while.
Yeah.
And it's sort of you're punishing the people that are most excited about it and that are going to use it the way that they're like, and they're showing off Photoshop and all this other powerful stuff. Those people are probably going to buy the i7. And,
I've had 3 different people in the last 24 hours reach out to me personally and say, what do you think of this thing? Is it worth it? And the very next thing that comes out of their mouth is, man, I would gladly spend the $2,000 for the i7 version of this, but I think I'm just going to get the i5 so I can have it now.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big trip up for people who are going to spend the money on the more premium version of the device on Microsoft's behalf.
Yeah. But so on the whole, the battery life is excellent. The hardware is beautiful. It is really thin and light. I was carrying it around the apartment, and my wife kept saying it looked like I was carrying around a clipboard, which it has a little pen attached to it.
Right.
I look like a gym teacher. But so on the good side, it looks like I'm carrying around a clipboard, which is thin and light and easy to hold. On the other hand, it looks like I'm carrying around a clipboard, which is a little embarrassing.
Yeah, it's bright silver and it's big.
Yeah.
So
I think it's really clear at this point that Microsoft just about has the keyboard where it needs to be. I think the keyboard's good. Trackpad is still lacking compared to a MacBook Pro or a premium Windows machine, but it's good enough. Yeah.
It's certainly better than previous versions of the type cover, but it is not on the same level as some of the other things that are out there right now.
Yeah. The N-Trig pen, I'm not a stylus expert. It seemed extremely capable to me. The display stack is really thin, so there's very little parallax. So where you're writing is where the ink or whatever you want to call it actually appears, which is huge because that's something everyone has gotten wrong in the past, just because the technology hasn't been there. Some people are freaking out over the Wacom versus N-Trig thing. I think most people are afraid when people walk away from Wacom, but it doesn't seem like a problem to me.
Yeah, so for as far as taking notes and stuff goes, it seems to be working pretty well. I had a couple of people who are Wacom enthusiasts, like they draw using Wacom devices on a regular basis, explain to me that the difference between Wacom and N-Trig isn't usually seen until you try to do something like complex drawing or something like that. Over the weekend, I'm going to try and sit one of my artist friends down with the Surface Pro 3 and see how true that actually is. But I mean, so far as regular daily use with a pen goes, it does everything that I would want it to do.
Yeah, I would only really take notes, so it's been fine. There's a little skipping now and then, but that's because I'm a poor writer and I always write with a very bold pen, so I'm just sloppy like that.
Yeah.
But definitely gets the job done. That's been really slick. I don't love the new kickstand. You know, Panos made it seem like it was just sort of it fixed all the issues. So what it is, it's a friction hinge. So after 22 degrees, which is the standard tilt, you have up until 150 or something like that degrees, and it can be, using friction, it's any point between there. The trade-off is you go from a really precise, like car door close, like a great feeling action, to a kind of a sloppy action, and it will stop at that friction point, but it just doesn't feel as nice. So,
and it also kind of feels like you need to be using two hands to open it and move it around. This was something that it didn't occur to me until I actually watched the video that I recorded when I was showing off the hardware. But I took with one hand and went to bend the tray back on the stand.
yeah.
And for a second there, it looked like I was going to snap it in half. I mean, like the friction on both sides, really, unless you're pulling from like the dead center, which when you're sitting down trying to use it like a laptop isn't how you're going to do that. It was really interesting to see, how terrible that looked from the other perspective, where it really looked like you were warping this thing out of place because of the friction hinge. And it definitely doesn't have that mechanical feel that the previous versions do when you go to move the hinge around.
It doesn't have it at any point either. You don't have it at the 22 degree point.
Right.
Which is, so it's too bad, because the action there, Microsoft had really nailed it, which was fun. And they made this trade-off so you would have more more options for it. So you could lay it down nearly flat and use it as a writing, like a tablet, but like a writing tablet, the way like an architect's table is at a 15 or whatever degree angle.
Which is really nice also for typing on the actual virtual keyboard. If you absolutely have to use it for a sentence or two, then it works really well.
So there's some real advantages to that. The way I use it is I wouldn't take advantage of them like that, but I could see people out there saying like, no, I like to write and I want it at this angle, or I use a virtual keyboard all the time, and this really helps me because I'm a doctor and I need a real laptop, but I need it to be light and stuff like that. So from that case, I think Microsoft is like finally, 10 years later, fulfilling some of the dreams of the UMPC and the Project Origami and these things that we've not only forgotten about but have actively pushed out of our memories. And Microsoft has disavowed all knowledge of, like Surface RT. I think if you said that the phrase Surface RT at that event, some like security guards would have come over, swarmed you, and you would have just disappeared. And then, it was totally.
No mention of Surface RT whatsoever. And this was the first event that I had been to that Satya Nadella was at.
Yeah, I was really excited to see him here. I didn't think he would have made an appearance, just because I wasn't expecting a whole lot from the event. Just on the Microsoft wide scale, I thought it would just be a Surface thing. It was a kind of a less prestigious venue than they've used in the past, and it wasn't particularly large for these things. The amount of international press there was near zero. The news trucks there was really limited, so on and so forth. But he came right on stage. He had a very reasonable talk, a nice 10-minute kind of warm-up thing. He didn't try to hog the stage, and they passed things over to Panos, who just barraged us with
who
details.
Did not stop talking for 45 minutes.
I wish it was 45. I think it was closer to 65. And you met him, right? You met Satya?
Yeah. So as they had all of the tablets set up for us to walk by and pick one up as we were walking through the venue after the presentation was over. And as I picked mine up, it was this kind of weird, surreal moment. Where like I picked up the Surface from one guy and I turned around and Satya was walking the other way past me, and he stopped for a second and shook my hand, and it was really cool. I had never met him face to face, and he seems like a really nice guy.
That's cool. You haven't washed that hand yet, right?
I have not washed that hand.
That's awesome. It's like in a bubble, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. So I think
box when I sleep.
We can go on for the Surface a lot. You and I have followed the Surface saga. Closer than most. Probably too close, especially considering neither of us are full-time Surface users. But I think people can hit us up with questions, and we have a lot of coverage on the site. So
Yeah, definitely. So far, so good.
You got topic number 2 lined up?
Yeah, we do. I wanted to talk more about the Android camera thing that I wrote about this morning. It was kind of a quick, brief thing that I saw and did a little more research on after I discovered it. There is a researcher who was trying to dig a little deeper into desktop camera exploits, where you can kind of snoop on someone's desktop camera without the LED light coming on and without taking pictures, because in a desktop environment that's really really simple stuff. To make sure that you're taking pictures with the camera without activating some kind of display for the camera to pop up.
Sure.
But on mobile devices, that's not supposed to be possible. The whole point of having the camera there is that the viewfinder comes up and you see the viewfinder, and you use that to take a picture. And for privacy and security reasons, the camera won't fire unless the viewfinder is active, so that it's not taking pictures. And there are a couple of gag apps that you can get in the Google Play Store. I don't even know that they work particularly well on Android 4.4. I remember seeing one back in like the Gingerbread days, where it would have like a fake email sitting in the home screen so that you could take pictures without people knowing. Without it showing up on your screen, you could like record video and take pictures. But this was the goal that he set out for, was to see if he could get Android to take pictures without the user knowing. And the result that he came up with was an application that took the viewfinder and shrunk it down to 1 pixel. So a 1 pixel by 1 pixel square, which on something like a Nexus 5 or a OnePlus One or anything like that with these huge 1080p screens is nothing.
Sure.
To show up on. Shrunk it down to 1 pixel, and then found that he could basically do whatever he wanted. He could record video, he could take pictures, and most importantly, he could do it remotely. He set up a website with an application that he sideloaded, and gave this kind of proof of concept where he could command the camera on this phone that he'd installed this app on remotely.
So no matter what, no matter how smart this guy is or how small his single pixel camera is, there is going to be a permissions button when you install the app and says this thing is controlling your camera, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 ways that this can happen. The first is an application could be sideloaded without your permission, but in order for that to happen, the sideload function has to be specifically activated on your phone. So the user at some point would have to go in and actually turn that feature on, or
so essentially a non-issue, right?
Right. Yeah. This is something that as long as the user is paying attention to, it's really not a huge deal.
Yeah.
Is what it basically boils down to. But it is something that exists, and it was interesting to see that this is one of those things that if you're not paying attention, this is one of those things that could definitely happen.
Yeah. So a lot of people discounted this in the comments and stuff and said, "Oh, well, the permissions, it says it right there." But like, no one has ever in the history of Android properly read those permissions, right? This is an app I want. I've downloaded it. Here's a screen in between where I am and where I want to be, and you press OK or cancel or whatever button will make that screen go away, right?
I mean, it's the instruction manual. All over again. It's the same, it's the end user license agreement argument all over again.
Yeah, you could read it, but no one actually does. So
another perfect example of this, Secrets app came out for Android earlier this week.
Yep.
And these are the permissions for an application whose job is to allow you to post things on the internet anonymously. We have an identity permission, a contacts permission, a location permission, a camera permission, your device identifier permission, the access to photos, files, and media. And there's legitimate justifications for a lot of these. The contacts and the identity is so that you can have like a circle of friends, and you can use that as far as secret goes. But I guarantee you that most of the people who have heard about Secret as this cool thing that you can post about anonymously didn't even see this when it popped up on their screen. They just hit accept and kept on going. So it's the same argument. Well, it shows up in the permissions, but it's end user license agreement 2.0. Where you can it's so easy to go past that. and then afterwards go, well, I don't understand how this happened.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So I saw another short news item this week that I thought would be interesting. Apparently some people say Google Glass is affecting the eye of the people that are wearing it. Have you seen this one?
Yeah.
So I don't know anyone that's wearing Google Glass as much as you have, or as long as you have, because you've had it. You're pretty early in the Explorer.
Yeah.
Queue. You're number 900 something or whatever. So you saw the story. I don't think you have like a lazy eye or anything like that. Like I'm not trying to like be weird. I'm just saying like I see you in person, and I've never thought Russ's vision is affected. But have you had any effects? Do you think the story is true, not true?
So when I first got Glass, when they handed it to me at the New York base camp and they walked me through everything, the first thing that the guy said to me when he put it on was, "Don't wear it all day at first. Take a couple of days and wear it more and more until you're comfortable enough to wear it all day long, because like any display, your eye needs some time to get used to it." And that made a lot of sense to me. So I wore it 2 hours the first day and 4 hours the next day, because that's how long the battery lasted. And kind of worked my way up to a point where I'm now wearing it all day long. But even then, there have been a couple of instances where something has gone wrong and the display has fired at like 100% brightness when I'm in a perfectly dark room, or something like that, and it has caused like a headache or something like that afterwards.
Yeah.
I think the one event that I remember this happening at was the Qualcomm Developer Conference, where I was doing something. I was like taking pictures or recording video or something, and all of the lights in the room went dim, but Glass never shut off.
Okay.
So for like 5 minutes, I had this incredibly bright light shining in my eye, and afterwards,
you didn't think to do anything about it. You're just like, this is excruciating.
I was really busy doing my job at the time. So,
okay. That's fair.
But yeah, so and for like the whole rest of the day, like I took a couple of Tylenol and it gave me a pretty nasty headache for the rest of the day. But that's the only time that I can remember it having any kind of like physical effect on me. But as far as like affecting my eyesight, I don't think so.
Like a kind of your vision issues, or your eye sort of like wandering off to the side or anything like that?
No, I wouldn't say that I've ever encountered that.
Have you, over the past year or so, you've seen an eye doctor at some point, I guess?
Yeah, I had to in order to get these.
Okay, so you saw someone that would have said, like, hey, man, your vision used to be fine. I wonder what happened. Things are really messed up now.
Yeah, and I had gone to it. The optician that I went to had actually gone to Google special training for Glass, in order to get the training to do the prescription for these frames.
Oh, so he's been indoctrinated. I don't know if this is someone that we should trust.
Yeah, he'd already been programmed, so it might not have been the same thing. But yeah, I've seen a lot of eye care professionals that have seen this have been really positive about the entire experience, and I haven't had anyone from that particular field go, "Hey, this might be bad for your eyes."
Okay, that's fair. I mean, you may not necessarily be representative of everyone. Maybe you have like superhuman eye muscles.
My eyes are incredibly special. Yeah. I mean, I see through walls all the time. It's No,
I just mean like maybe you're not representative, but just from an anecdotal sense, maybe this story was a little bit overblown.
Yeah. I don't think that this would. I'm sure that there are cases where eye fatigue and things like that happen, and there could be other effects from that. But I don't think that it's a widespread thing.
Yeah. How much time do you spend looking at it a day? Besides, when you and I are together at the office or whatever, I don't actually see you looking at it very much. Sometimes I actually wonder why you're wearing it, because it doesn't look like you.
Most of the time, I end up using it for notifications, especially when I'm writing. Like I'll get a message from you when I'm writing, and without ever taking my hands off the keyboard or looking away from what I'm doing, I can reply to you. I can answer phone calls. Like I've said a bunch of times, driving, it's really super useful. But it's not something that I feel the need to constantly mess with.
Like when I used it, I was just messing with it nonstop.
I think that's what happens like the first week that most people try this thing on, is they feel the need to constantly mess with it, because I know I did.
Yeah, no
But
question.
after a while, it just becomes a part of how you use, like your phone and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna switch to the app of the week.
Yeah, let's do it.
My app of the week is super weird.
Okay.
I
Safe for work? Yes, no,
It's safe
almost.
for work, but it's super weird. It is called Neato. You remember uh, when Logitech's webcams first came out, and they did a whole bunch of those weird facial masking tools that came with their software, so like you could make your face look like a
Pirate.
dinosaur, like a
Yeah, of
shark.
course.
So this is an app for the iPad that does that,
Okay.
but it shows you the facial tracking, and you can use it to record entire messages as though you are a shark or a pirate or something like that, and then send it to friends and family members. And I've actually sent my kids a couple of messages. But the way that it works, you have an application, and you use the front-facing camera to take a picture of your face, and then
Okay.
you do this thing where, like you can see on the screen, it wants you to line up the eyes and the nose and the mouth with
Yeah,
these
yeah.
little icons that you drive around. And when you do that, it then takes the application and it's not going to work here to show it to you, but it gives you this little window up in the top corner that shows you all of the facial tracking stuff that's happening in real time.
Okay.
So like on my face, there's like when I put my face on it, there's this white grid that comes over my face with all these angles where it's mapping my face, and then it uses that to move the entire body of the character on the screen. So like if I tilt my head, then this character will tilt his head. The eyes will match my eyes. The mouth will match my mouth.
Yeah,
And then
so
there's
it's that Logitech thing all over again.
it is. And there's a ton of different characters that you can choose from. And then once you've chosen one and you're comfortable with it, you can hit the record button and record a message, where you're just talking and then everything animates, and then take it and send it away. And it's a free application called Nito, spelled Nito, and I just thought it was really neat that we're taking that technology and pushing it a little bit further. I
Yeah,
think
cool.
everyone should
You could
talk
do
with
that
smart people.
with Hangouts as well.
Yeah, Hangouts is a really basic version of it where you can
Yeah.
have things float over you and do stuff like that.
Yeah, you don't get the full on face coverage the way you do with
Yeah.
Nito or Nito or whatever it is.
And I think a lot of it was me just being really amazed at seeing the real-time facial map. Just kind of the I guess just the super geeky part of seeing this this grid over my face as the app worked out like where everything should be. I thought that it worked really well.
That's cool. I thought for sure you're gonna pick the Osmo app, OSMO, which everyone's been talking about that one today.
I did not, but you can certainly go ahead if you want to.
Oh no, I haven't looked into it yet. It's something about getting your kids to bring their iPhone gaming into the real world.
Yeah, it's really really neat. I saw something about this earlier this week, and wasn't able to get early hands on with it. But I was trying to talk to him to see if I could, and it
Cool.
does. It has this little clip over the top of the iPad that takes the camera and angles it down, and then you take real world objects and you put them in front to create puzzles and do things like that, and it incorporates that into the application. For a bunch of different activities is how Osmo works, and it was really neat.
Cool. And now onto the Q&A period.
Let us drift into Q&A land and see what happens. We
Got
have
a
one
question
question
yeah, nice.
from Arden Llewellyn about the Surface Pro 3. How is using the device as a tablet once it is detached from the keyboard? Is it something you can hold with one hand comfortably? You're right, 12 inches does sound big for this tablet. And I do not really like walking around with things that are iPad sized or even the larger Android tablets. That kind of 10-inch range I'm really not a fan of. And I don't think that I would be comfortable wandering around just holding this tablet in my hand. But sitting on the couch or sitting at my desk and just kind of holding it up and using it, it felt perfectly comfortable to me. And using it without the keyboard for any kind of shorthand stuff, like writing a couple of sentences or doing something like that was fine. But if I wanted to write a paragraph or something like that, then I would reach for the keyboard. And I think That is our only question. But I also think that Sal is frozen. So I'm going to go ahead and end it for this week. We will be back next week. Everyone, have a good day.
Oh, you. What?
Well, you were frozen for a second there, and I had already answered the question, so I went ahead.
Oh, the Q&A portion is my favorite part of the thing.
Well, you froze. I can't help you.
Oh, sorry, stupid Wi-Fi, I guess.
Did you want to go ahead and add how you feel using it without the keyboard and?
Yeah, really quickly. I think it's a pretty good tablet. I think it's under 2 pounds. It's about 1.7 pounds with a keyboard. Obviously, you're gonna not have the keyboard on there. So it's light. Microsoft made a whole big deal about being perfectly balanced. So that is helpful. And I could totally see a doctor or someone like that, someone that's standing up, moving around, using this a fair bit. So I don't know. I'm more okay with holding a tablet than you are. You know, you can't hold something like this for 3 to 4 hours. It's just uncomfortable. There's no way around that. Just even if it was a pound, that's not how people work. So you have to keep in mind constraints like that. But it's definitely better than I would say pretty much anything else out there, aside from the iPad Air, which is really good at this stuff, or maybe like a Galaxy Note 10, something that's really thin and really light. But as far as the power you're getting versus the lightness, this is definitely a win. It's so much better than the slates and stuff that we used to make believe people would use while they're standing, 5-6 years ago.
Everyone's totally going to hold this 6-pound tablet. It's totally going to happen.
Yeah, totally. The 2.5-hour battery life, sure.
Right.
So anyway, I would just say, like, overall with the Surface Pro 3, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but it's the best Surface so far, and it's definitely the sort of hardware you should at some point go to a Best Buy, just get your hands on this thing. There's a lot of cool stuff happening here, even if you cannot stand Windows 8.1 and you just wish styluses would die in a fire. Not like us, like other people.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll see everybody next week.